I'm Solace, and I will be going through my track Dissolution of Fate, which is a track on We've Heard on my new single. Go check out both this one and the other track, Byzance. Have a listen, and I hope you like both the tracks and this breakdown. Let's get into it. So, first things first, I work in Presonus Studio One, which not a lot of people know, but it works for me. I like how it works, I like the flow, I like how it looks, which is really important because I hate the look of Ableton. Sorry, but it's ugly. So I like the way how this looks, and it works for me, and there you go. So, but the idea of the whole thing is the same. You'll understand it really easily. This track is actually quite simple. There's not a lot of crazy synthesizing, there's not a lot of crazy sample uses or crazy stuff happening. It's quite straightforward, and that is what I like about this track. The idea is very strong, and the style of the track is very intense as something, because the intro is really orchestral with like drums, only drums, and then like strings, and then a really heavy vocal, and then the drop is just 808s, a Reese, and heavy breaks, and that is the whole tune basically. But I'll show you how I made it. Normally, when I start a tune, I start with drums, then I go into bass, then I go into mid basses, and then I fill it up with atmosphere effects, whatever. For this track, I actually started with the idea of a sample. I wanted to use like a very intense piece of a war movie in Western news. I don't know, the war movie on Netflix, which is pretty insane. It's a really good movie, and if you've seen that movie, you know what sound I'm after. And that is where I got the idea for this Reese. Well, not me, actually, my girlfriend said to me, is like, wait, isn't that like a sick sample to use? I tried to use it, it didn't work, but it gave me the inspiration to use this. No, it's not in my sample thing anymore. But so after getting the Reese and the first initial idea, I built up some drums, some very breaky drums, and then I just filled it up with very simple bass because I already had like an intense Reese, some quite heavy drums. So I need something simple to fill it up, and that was just 808s, which worked like a treat in my humble opinion. And then afterwards, I went to the intro and then filled it up with everything else, basically. But let's go through. The basis of the drums is Addictive Drums, which I love using lately. And that is just the basis of the drop. Let's mute you. So this is all Addictive Drums. I can show you quickly how it looks. So the first is just kick, and then this one is snare, this one is a tambourine, and we have another hat, and then rides, and another hat. So the kick, it's really simple. Pitch it up, pitched up, shortened it, nothing cut off, some compression, some EQing, some tube noise or whatever. I'm not sure how it works. Some tape, some less. Excuse me. So some compression, some queuing, some tape distortion, some shaping, and then putting it louder. Because the most important thing to get Addictive Drums sounding good is pushing everything to the max. Because otherwise it's sounding really flat, and then when you push it up here with here, and then using our clipping for me, everything gets pushed up and it's louder and it's better and it's actually useful in drum bass, is what I feel like. Otherwise it's too weak. But this is the kick, and the hat is in here as well, which is just basic as well. I have some overhead going on and some room noise, and then the bus is not doing anything. I didn't send anything to the bus. And on the master there's some compression happening. It's a minor drive on the tape, but that's it. The snare is from the same kit, so there we go. And it also triggers a noise sample. So without it, with it, it's like the extra like extra white noise on top. But again, snare is not fancy or anything, just pitched up, low cut, some snare buzz. That was for the kick. There we go. And that's it. Just cut it, compression, shaping, and driving the hell out of it, and then you get a cool snare. And these ones are even less interesting. Just the tambourine going nuts on 16ths, and this is more hats. It's another hat to add extra liveliness in the drums in the second part of the first 32 bars. And then here is just ride happening. There we go. That's a ride. Nothing fancy going on. And that is just the basic of the drum. That's the basis of the drums. I added some samples because I can't get the right punch from a kick in Addictive Drums. So I used a sample in Molecular to give me that straight up punch. Yes, lad. Yes, lad. And then again, Molecular, lovely samples. Yeah, to give me like the initial snap of the snare, which is actually side chained into the snare, because I wanted this transient to hit harder and, well, not necessarily louder, but more. I wanted this tangent to shine through the transient of the Addictive Drums. The Addictive Drums is very nice. Like the tail, but the transient and like the initial hit, it's sometimes too weak, and I had it in this case as well. So I used different snare and I used that transient, and I sidechained it to the Addictive Drums. And then when I also added up on top are some there's a break from an ulterior motive back. Some rolls, some hats. The snare sound sounds really nice, and it adds. Especially those little rolls make it. Yeah, just make it. Without it, it's nice, but it's not the same. Give some liveliness and some high-end crispiness. And then there's also like another hat that comes in later on. And that is it. Hat 4, never used. Sample, not sample, but automation wise, there's just an automation happening on the full drum bus, which is, by the way, with a really nice filter, the DJM filter. It sounds really nice because it's really recognizable. It's the same as, it's based on the same filter that you have on a DJM mixer, like a Pioneer mixer. So everything that goes clubbing, every DJ and most people actually recognize it subconsciously. So if you use it in your tracks, it sounds really as a normal filter. Like you have other filters that have like built-in crazy resonance, like crazy, I don't know, whatever. It sounds really weird, but this one sounds really natural to me, and I hope to others as well. And it's really easy to use, just low pass, high pass, and center it off. You have some drive, some resonance, and it's really simple. It's the same as on a DJM. It's just turn it, twist it, and it filters. It's nice. And that is it from automation on the drums. This is just to turn off the panning because I have some panning going on here. And then after this, I had some weird artifacts that were still going from the left to the right for some reason. So I just pulled it down so it's mono after this. Otherwise, there's not so much crazy mixing going on. Just some saturation, some clipping, and imaging everything below 100. Normally I use 100 Hz, but everything like below a certain part, just mono. And then sometimes I pull other things down, other things up, just to see what the sound needs. And that is, for the rest, there's not much crazy stuff happening, also not on a drum bus. Just imaging, pulling everything down, and the filter. Right. And that is the drums. That is it. It's really straightforward. So the bass, I'll go from top to bottom. The sub is just an 808 from Contact with only some noise. Again, pulling it down and then pulling the mids up a bit, like wider, stereo wise. There is a filter on there, and then also this, but those are not used. As you can see, the automations are not doing anything. And that is just, it's an 808. It's an 808. It's nothing more. This one is the same one that I just duplicated, and then the release is just way longer. And then this one is the Reese that keeps the whole track together, basically, and that started everything. I started with a preset. I might have changed some stuff here and there, but not that much. I'm not the best in synthesizing stuff. Then I added some stuff, not that much, just an EQ, some noise, some saturation, again pulling the low end down, and then splitting the noise into two. On one I used mono mod, which gives it like a crazy wobbly, crackly sound, and then I used some reverb on that sound, pulled it all together with some EQ limiting and some more EQ, but some of these EQs are actually one of these EQs is automated. It may be interesting to know this is how it sounds without the mono mod and the reverb. And this is what it gives some weird movement going. See? Some weird movement, which is nice. Wait, I did something. There we go. And that is the Reese sound. The automation on this is the sub and the Reese are not playing at the same time, and I noticed when they were playing at the same time it was too much, but when they weren't playing at the same time, so I didn't have enough low end. So this is actually, no, I don't need you. I need you. So this is actually automating. There we go. It's automating that. I have it. See, you can hear the difference. Because without that automation, it was just too weak. And this part, like, after like heavy 808s, this part was just too weak. But it didn't work with 808s, so I had to figure out something. And that worked. Note-wise, by the way, everything is just playing D sharps, and then the Reese is going from C to C sharp, C sharp, and then from D sharp to E, back to D sharp, and that is everything. Goes down an octave after 16 bars, and then it just repeats in the second part of the second drop back in the original octave. These plucky ones, same notes, and this is just also a preset, and then I do some automation on there. And the interesting thing is that I try to use the same kind of post-processing. So I used the same saturator, I used the same monomod, and that is how I try to keep coherence in my tracks, because I don't like using like 5 different distortion units on different sounds, because it doesn't sound cohesive anymore. So I like to use like the same. If I use a certain saturator on one bass, you can always almost make sure that I used it on all the following basses that I added in the project. So same thing here, I try to add the same things, but this one needed some more pushing, so I added this one, the King's microphones, but also adds a crunch, a decapitator, again a saturator, not that much, but it does something, and a texture to add noise, and then the rest is just to clean it up. So EQing, limiting, EQing, imaging, pulling everything down, a filter to play with the noise, the sound, some clipping, because I still had quite some room and it has quite a heavy transient, so I just cut that transient off. And then again some EQing, and then the reverb, which is on 0 because I automated towards the end. I also automated the cutoff, the filter, so it opens up, and then also another filter to cut off the low end. It starts like this and it ends like that. And all the basses, I tried to switch everything. So these ones are not really playing together, these two. It's always empty, or almost just only the beginning part. And these are also not playing together. Every time this one plays, this one isn't. Same here, because this is not repeating, but same here, second drop is not playing together. And so you can push everything to the top, and you don't fill out your bass frequencies in your tune too much with 5 different basses going over each other. No, just keep it separate. If you can, just keep it separate. Then you can push everything louder. And then all the best is this is all Omnisphere, Contact, and Diva, and this is samples. I used samples in the beginning, so the drums with like almost no processing from somewhere, and then I also used a vocal because I needed something in the intro that pulled your attention. And I recently watched Roy when I was making this tune, and I remember the very hauntingly beautiful vocal when, spoilers, when Achilles killed Hector, and that stuck with me, and I'm really happy that I could use it in the song. So I will play you a bit, but not too much. I pitched it down. There's also some drums in there. Sick drums. And I used the drums also in the intro to pull both the first 16 and then the second 16 of the intro together, because otherwise it was very weird. The vocal comes back after 32 bars and then never again. I really love how the vocal sounds, but I don't want to overuse it, because then you could just get sick of it immediately. So only an intro, and then after 32 bars into the drop, and then never again. If people want to hear the vocal again, they just have to listen to the whole tune again. Yeah, but no. A friend once told me that sometimes the magic of a sound is just in using it once, which I still remember, and it's true. You don't. If a sound is so good that you want to hear it 20 times, you don't have to use it 20 times. Just once is enough, and then it will make it magical and make it stand out even more, because you only use it once or twice in this case. But moving on to the mixing stage of this, really easy, just going towards my effects. Just a long reverb, just some EQing, some saturation, some compression, and that is basically I'm pushing it down. And then this is all synths. This is Omnisphere, this is Diva, these two, and then these are Contact, and then some Serum. The Omnisphere ones I always bounce, because Omnisphere is really heavy on my CPU, so I only have one instance of Omnisphere and bounce it out, and then go to another sample, go to another preset, play what I want, and then bounce it out again. So this one is like a paddy thing with like no extra mixing needed. I would low cut this, but since it's not playing during the drop when I really need all the space in the bass heavy frequencies I could need, it doesn't really need to be low cut in my opinion. This one is actually a really important sound, because without it I didn't really have something to glue the intro with, like the vocal to the drop. It was very separate, and then this pulls it together very nicely without like a heavy build up. This is very naturally, I think, because it's the same note as the vocal, or the ending of the vocal, and it's also, it sounds really like a vocal, so it takes it over and then it pulls through the drop, and then this one is repeated here and there, also with like an octave down. But this one, it's really important to carry it over to make it work. Because without it, it doesn't sound the same. So I have like the vocal, nothing happens. It's it's not glued together, and this sound was exactly that, which is lovely. Then Diva, I didn't use this Diva. I was playing around with like an arpeggiator, but I didn't use it. It didn't really fit, so I just pulled it down. And this one is like a synth, and it opens up to the towards the second break, because I wanted towards the second drop, because I wanted to build up very naturally, also in the strings. So it opens up just by using the filter and the cutoff from Diva itself. So it starts. Is it not going in? Because it was too cut off. There we go. So it starts really low, and then it builds itself up, and it takes itself down again. There we go. And that comes only in here. It doesn't come in the intro, not in the small outro that I have. It's just in the breakdown, and to fill that up with like some very almost uplifting sound. And then this is also really important as a natural build up towards the second drop, in my opinion. It's the strings. It starts off with just one note, and that one note carries on, and then I just add and add and add more octaves. Every 16 bars I add another layer of strings. So I start with just a violin, one note, and then more come in, same pattern, more come in, and then at the end even more. And this is like the perfect, like natural build up towards the second drop. It opens up, it goes louder, there's more frequencies, so you feel that it's pulling you somewhere. Straight into 808s, but in this instance. But there's not much going on, so basically some filtering, again with the DJM filter, to get rid of some of those bassy noises, and then an EQ which I used as a volume dipper, right? So here it was too loud, and I wanted to automate the volume in, so I used an EQ. I automated the output level. As you can see, there you go. To automate the volume of the whole thing. And then the last thing is Serum, which is just noise. Off, off, off. It's just noise with a bit of post-processing going towards reverb, but it's noise. Just to fill up the high frequencies, but that is basically it. And then maybe also interesting on my so everything goes to this one, to the sidechaining, except for the drums. So these ones go straight to my main. Everything else goes into sidechaining, and this goes into my main, where I have a tuner, again an imager where I pull everything down below 100 Hz. You'd think that I've done it enough of the course, because on every bus there's like an imager. But if you could see, when I don't do it, see, there's still like a lot of white noises. So there we go. Just pull everything in. Then there's like clipper, because I pull every bus down -10, -10, -10, and I just push it back up with like a clipper. This one is super nice. It's a free plugin, so go and get it. And if you want it. And these are the settings that I use to have the same vibe that Tractor and Strato have. There we go. Normally I bounce everything out and put it into Tractor, but this I don't have to. This is just a timer to keep a track of the timing of the tune, and then Vision, I still need to figure out how the settings work best for me. I'm not sure yet. There's some interesting stuff, some stuff that I don't need. I still need to figure it out, but it's cool. And then this is to make sure that you guys can hear me. But that is basically it. It's simple, but the idea is the driving thing behind it. The Reese and the vocal, really important. And there you go. That is the Dissolution Fate. Cheers.